Hi everyone, welcome back to the Carbons Challenge. I'm your host, Jun Chen. And before we start the debate, I will spend about 1 minute and 40 seconds to giving you the article core points so everyone has the same background. Sounds good? The article says the global shipping emit roughly about 1.1 billion tons of the carbon dioxide per year, about 2 to 3% of the global emissions, which seriously affect the climate and coastal community. In 2023, the IMO outage is through, which is the MARPOL Annex 6 and a new GHG strategy. Regionally, the Euro rolled out the policy like EU ETS, EU MRV, and the few EU maritime. Together, this pushed the industry toward the low carbon fuel and operations improved through the price signal and the more transparency. The article highlights three parameters. The first one is the operational measures like slow steamings, JIT arrivals, berth optimizations. And the second is technical or design solutions like like we heard, waste heat recovering, wind or solar assist. And the third is the alternative fuel like green hydrogen, green ammonia, and methanol. In short terms, the slow steamings and port optimization are immediate, uh, low cost options, and in the long terms, the alternative fuel and large infrastructure build out are needed for the deep decarbonizations. We select this article because it's directly address pressing questions, which is can the operation can the operational measures such as slowing achieve the meaningful emissions reductions in the short terms without compromising the supply chain efficiency. So this video aims to test these arguments and propose the actionable policy recommendations. Now we will put these ideas into the decarbon challenge and let our players debate and propose the solutions. Let's get started. So the rules are simple. Have 3 rounds, and the first round is the speed versus emissions. And round 2 is the cost versus time. Round 3 is the future fuel and infrastructure. Each round has a background brief, and then the Yonglong and He Tai speak. Judge is Gabao. It will score the point from 0 to 10 at the end and give the policy advice. Now let's start with a quick intro for each player aligned.
Hi, my name is Yong Leong and I'm a ship owner.
I'm He Tai and I am a shipper.
Hello everyone, my name is Kappa and I will be the judge.
Okay, round 1. Does slow steaming really cut a lot of carbon dioxide? The physics are simple. The propulsive power scale roughly with the Q of speed, which is the power infinity speed 3. Modest speed cut can cut power next speed time. One simulation shows reducing speed from 23 to 12 knots gave a 66% of the fuel saving and 72% of the carbon dioxide reductions. Other studies says 10% speed drop semi-equal to 90% emission drop. So keep in mind these are the module's result. Then depends on the ship type, routes, load, and the port congestions. Okay, the ship owners Yong Leong, you have 45 seconds to argue why slow steaming is a right move.
Thanks. We support slow steaming. It is immediate and cost effective. The model and physics show big fuel and emission cut, and it does not require massive short-term capital. No engine swap needed. For fleet, slowing down lower fuel bill and carbon costs right away. It also reduces the engine stress, which can cut maintenance and downtime. So we see slow steaming as a sensible transitional tactic while sustainable fuel and infrastructure scale up.
I'm identifiably not against cutting emission, but just slowing ship downs bring huge costs to the supply chains. When the ship moves slower, the whole journey gets long, which means goods spend more time at sea. That also means inventory and capital are tied out. Basically, our money is stuck out there and cannot be used for products are really time sensitive like the FMCG, medicines or seasonal goods. The delays can mean missing the sales windows. Sometimes customers are even forced to use air freight to make up for lost time. But if that happens, emissions are not really reduced, and there are just shift to aviation, which is ever worse. So what we need to look at is not just the fuel saving for ship owner, but the overall net benefit to society. If the costs of cutting emission are simply pushed onto the shipper, then this approach won't be last. It's neither fair nor sustainable.
Just a two quick question for Yong Leong. If slow streaming cause some shippers to leave, how do you handle the market risk? For He Thai, if not broad slow streaming, what short-term alternative do you suggest that also cut emissions?
We don't use split flexibility, tie in long-term contract, and prioritize rules where shippers accept longer transit. That cushion the market risk.
I think that it makes more sense to improve scheduling and coordinate ETA with ports and also use the shore power and hybrid propulsion instead of forcing every ship to slow down the same way.
Let's start with round 2, cost versus time. So who pay and how do we compensate? So He Thai goes first with the 60-second. The key issue is the fuel saving. Who benefits? If only the ship owner save and the shipper pay to the time cost. Possible fix is the profit sharing agreements, pay parity drifting, or the government subsidy for the pilot. So He Thai, what compensations mechanics will you accept?
We are willing to pay extra for greener shipping, but it has to be clear, transparent, and something we can actually verify. Let me give 3 example practical ideas. First, a shared platform for ETA and delay costs. So everyone, like the ship owner and shipper, sees the same predicted arrive time and use the same formula for calculating delay cost. No more hidden numbers. And second, carbon saving revenue sharing. If a slow streaming really cuts the fuel's use, then the money saved should not just go into one pocket. It should be split based on the pre-agreed formula, like the 60% for the carrier and 40% back to the shipper, handled through an escrow account and verified by an independent party. And third, a purity rent for time-sensitive cargo, meaning that if I have a critical goods, I can pay for granted faster transit without being held back by slower schedule. And for example, if a slow streaming save about $50 per container, and then we agree upfront that 40% of that saving goes back to the shipper to offset extra inventory costs, and the slip is reviewed and very quarterly. That's why the benefit and risk share fairly.
We can work with that. We are open to long-term contract and revenue sharing, but there must be a floor guarantee and flexible speed band. If fuel or carbon price change, the contract adapt. Without some protection, the ship owner can't commit capital or change operation. Third-party verification is essential to avoid dispute.
How will you measure real fuel and emission savings? And what contract from make this enforceable?
And we should use the AIS tracking and abroad fuel meters and get a natural third party to verify the emission. On top of that, we can add a standard contract add-ons so all agrees are easier to compare.
Agree. The AIS plus actual fuel burn data and use a master agreement with quarterly settlement adjustment.
A quick data recap. A 10% speed drop, semi-equal to 90% road emissions decrease in one studies. Large slowdown shows a bigger savings and modules, but real-world results depends on road, load, and port conditions. So the policy should start with the pilots to get the real data before scaling. Round 3. Is the long-term solution shifting fuel and building infrastructure? The green, hydrogen, ammonia, and methanol look promising, but they face the production curve, storage and safety, energy density, and life cycle emission issues. So Yonglong, please explain why the ship owner should invest in future fuel.
We are on board for fuel transition. Long-term alternatives are the only way to deeply cut emission. Early involvement gives us experience and cost edge later, but we need a clear, well-to-wake standard, government or multilateral funding for port upgrade, and long-term demand guarantee from shipper. If those are in place, we will invest in reform and new build. Short-term do slow steaming, and long-term we do invest in fuel and port.
I think that I support the moving to clearer fuels, but we have three caution. First, if there is not transparent, well-to-wake accounting, we could not end up paying extra for so-called green fuels that are not really green. Secondly, the upfront costs are very high if there is not mechanisms to stabilize the price. Shipper like us simply can keep up absorbing huge premiums at every trip. Third, the infrastructure for new fuels will not be really everywhere at the same time. Some ports will be ahead, others fall behind, and then create a big route gaps. That's why we prefer phase pilot project instead of few rollers right away with pilots. We can bring the independent certificate, set the milestone base payment, and include the clear access costs. This way, a shipper have a chance to support the transition while still protecting ourselves from excessive risk.
Just a short question for Yonglong. If we launch a flexible pilot, who should take most of the upfront costs and what financing tools should we use?
Port and fuel supplier bear most initial capex. Ship owner invest in retrofit, use PPP fund and PPA contract and tax incentive.
How about Hetai?
Shippers are willing to pay part of the green premium, but not all at once. We prefer put the money into a escrow account and release it step by step, tied to clean milestones. For example, when the actual emission reduction are verified, but for this to work, we also need a solid protection. That means either a trusted party must guarantee the process, or three has to be insurance in place. Otherwise, shippers are carrying all the risk without the real safeguards.
After listening to both sides, here's my rhetoric and policy roadmap. Both sides make valid points. In short terms, they will show slow streaming is a practical, low-cost transaction tools, but it must be paired with transparent revenue sharings and priority lanes from time sensitivity cargoes. Without that, costs will be unfair, shift, and emissions may just move to other modes. For the policy recommendation, it will divide it in short, mid, and long. For the short terms, which from 0 to 2 years, run pilot couriers will shippers accept slower transit, use AIS plus fuel flow data plus third-party GHG verification. Put savings into escrow account and share according to pre-agreed splits. Create first lanes for time sensitivity cargoes. And for the midterms, which is 2 to 5 years, save up PPP funds for port upgrade, push for long-term PPA and contract frameworks to stabilize fuel pricing and scale proven pilots. And for the long terms, which is 5 years and above, work on international well-to-wake standards, invest in alternative fuels, productions and bunkering infrastructure, and also multilateral funds to de-risk early investments. The score 0 to 10 on policy competence, flexibility and fairness. Ship owners, which is Yonglyon, I will given 8.0 because it's good on flexibility and technology, needs clearer profit sharing details. For Hetai shippers, I will given 8.5 score.
Wow.
Because it states clearly on supply chain risk and fair mechanism. And for the overall strategy, I will given 7.5.
Wow.
It is because the direction is right, but we need pilot data and scale confidently. That's my ruling. Run pilots, verifies result publicly, the scale with fair contracts.
Thanks to Cabal for that solid verdict, and thanks to Yonglyon and Hetai for a tight debate. Bottom line, do the quick things that would now use slow steaming added the verify sharing, while building for the long-term hoods can using the fuel adding the POX. We will link reference and pilot resources in the description, and we want your take. Do you support low steamings with revenue sharing, prioritize fuel infrastructure first, or something else? Drop this in the comment. We will conclude the viewer feedback in our teaching pack. See you next time.